Bickley and Marana Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
For a team that swore they didn't need a point guard, the Suns are enjoying quite the victory lap this morning, and that is because over the weekend they acquired Tyus Jones on a one-year veterans minimum contract, and suddenly hope lives again. With a legitimate floor general, the Suns now look like a much more formidable, well-rounded basketball team. Now maybe this is proof that James Jones will say just about anything, because he once insisted a point guard wasn't necessary, because he once stood on a very flawed premise that you don't want to take the ball out of the hands of Devin Booker or Bradley Beal. Or maybe it's proof that new head coach Mike Budenholzer has successfully changed the organizational perspective, making it clear that his team needed a traditional point guard. Either way, in the end, it is a huge victory for Matt Ishbia, because to me, it felt like a real Jerry Colangelo kind of moment. An owner who was once great at convincing players to come to Phoenix on the promise and the sense of mutual trust, that if you agree to help my basketball team, I promise you I will repay you in spades down the road. Ishbia was also an owner who occasionally felt like he was gaslighting all of us with his relentless optimism, but in the end, he has delivered once again. Remember, the first step in solving a problem is admitting you have one in the first place, and for the first time in a while, it feels like the Suns management and their fan base have all arrived in the very same place. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
The ultimate responsibility that those guys have is they are scorers. When you look at the box score and you say, okay, what did KD do? The first thing you're going to look at is how many points he scored. You're not going to look at how many assists he had. You're not going to look at how many steals he had. You're going to look at how many points he had. And that's with all three of those guys. And in saying that, you basically got to make sure that those guys are really focused and put in the right position to be able to do that first and foremost. And I think they took a responsibility this past year to prove to everybody that they can play point guard, that they can distribute the ball, that they can handle the pressures of a point guard. And I think in doing that, it took away from the strength of what they are. And now they're trying to score the ball from 35 feet off the dribble instead of catching the ball already in their range and knocking down shots.
That was Eddie Johnson, Suns analyst, NBA, a serious XM NBA radio host. He joined us on May 9th.
Oh, he is serious. You're not kidding about that.
About the Suns' big three not playing up to their capabilities because of the lack of a point guard. And Eddie made some great points there. He's like, they all prove that they can initiate offense in pinches. But to do it for a full season and to do it heavy workload in a playoff series, we saw what the results were. This team struggled with turnovers all year long.
That's
and Kevin Durant acknowledged the fact that he was not always happy with his role in the offense last year for the Suns. This Tyus Jones acquisition checks so many boxes.
Well, and it also, yes, it does. And again, I think that for the people who really believe that point guard was the issue, and I was one of them, and there are thousands of people like me, and I think you were in that same category, it was getting a little bit crazy to keep being told, no, it's not that big of a deal, because it really flies in the face of everything that we all know about basketball. And I think you're right. I think Devin Booker, even more so than Bradley Beal, Devin Booker's a hardcore dude who's going to step up and do what you ask him to do. He's not going to complain about it. He's going to do what you ask him to do, and he did that last year. It's not what you need from these guys. You need these guys to be liberated and to do what they do, which is to light it up. So I'm stoked about this. And I'm also stoked because it means to me that there's actually some real thought being put into designing this offense and this program for this team, which we didn't have last year. And we're going to get into Kevin Durant next segment, but an engaged, happy Kevin Durant, got news for you. Pretty good basketball player. Put that out there yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah. He reminded everybody that thought, this is the farewell tour for Kevin Durant. And it may well be from an Olympic standpoint, but goodness, that was amazing.
So if Bradley Beal insists that he wants to be a starting member of the starting lineup, you're looking at a starting lineup of Tyus Jones, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Yusuf Nurkic. It's an intriguing starting five, short on size. Will they be short on defensive ability? One of the things that came out of Dwayne Wade's mouth yesterday during Team USA's win was a reminder that Devin Booker has been an elite defender. He wasn't last year. I venture to say
he took a step back on that side last year.
But I venture to say the whole program did. And I'm gonna cut Devin Booker some slack on this because he was asked to run the point, and because I'm of the belief that if you're gonna be a really good defensive player, you gotta be one of five. If you've got a couple guys on your team who are not grinding defensively, you're not gonna do it. Why would you do it? If you're gonna put all that effort in to something, and the guy gives up the ball to a wide open dude, and you're like, come on, dude, where's your hustle at? So I'm going to cut him some slack on that, but they're going to have to get back to it this year because that starting lineup, even though it looks really good from a combustibility and an offensive standpoint, there's going to be some shortcomings with that. Now, as you pointed out, the bench looks much better than last year.
When you have Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, Mason Plumlee, Bol, Damian Lee, Monte Morris, I mean,
it's pretty good.
We'll get to the point where we acknowledge the rookies, and we were wondering earlier in the summer, what kind of a role is Ryan Dunn going to play in Oso Ighodaro? Not much. In fact, I think Ryan Dunn's rookie role is probably close to nil because they brought back Josh Okogie as well. So,
I would agree with you 100%.
Oso Ighodaro might, because of his skill set and his length, he might get some more opportunity. And I know
that's okay.
Ryan Dunn's a great defender.
That's okay. We need to start developing young players in addition to everything else they're doing.
Absolutely.
So this is perfectly fine. The fact that the belief that Ryan Dunn had to be good this year, that's never a good thing for a team. When you need a rookie to be something.
Yes.
That's never a good sign.
This takes pressure off him, too, to develop more at his own pace.
So this is a victory for this basketball team because there is nobody who thought a week ago who thought this was going to happen. Everybody assumed when the Suns settled for Josh Okogie and re-up with him that they were done.
But I have to give the Suns front office credit, too, because they're strapped. There's no doubt about it. Everybody knew they were strapped. They've done some very creative things. To be able to turn David Roddy into a potential starting point guard is, quite honestly, at this point of the summer, an amazing maneuver. The Josh Okogie deal, when the numbers came out on it, you're like, that's interesting. But they're referring to Josh Okogie now as the human trade exception. That's kind of his new nickname. Now, it works both ways because Josh Okogie is probably not going to have a giant role. He's going to be paid very handsomely in that small role with this team, but he knows his basketball future is likely elsewhere. If this front office can turn Nasir Little's contract into something, now he's got 3 years left on that contract and did not play a role for this team last year, so I don't imagine there's going to be anything in terms of suitors on that, but what they've done with very little wiggle room to maneuver is impressive to me. Yeah, now it's all about that. We're all on cloud nine last year at this time too about roster construction. I think this roster looks better top to bottom than last year's. But you still got to go out there and perform.
Oh yeah. Again, I think this makes them. I think they're going to be better, but are they? Are they going to be good enough where they're going to be a threat to win the West? We're going to have to see exactly where they slot with that.
Yep.
But again, I did not think that I thought that they were done in terms of acquiring top end talent.
And not DUNN.
Yeah, no. And Tyus Jones is not a star, but he's exactly what the team needs.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.